Hello and welcome to today's class. Today's class will be on disaster management cycle. Now, before we look into the concept of disaster management cycle, let's just highlight back on what disaster management actually is. Disaster management can be defined as the organization and execution of disaster management plans for preventing disasters and reducing their risk, undertaking rescue and relief operations in emergency situations, and bringing back the region and affected people to normalcy. So disaster management will involve both organization as well as executions of those plans which are prepared for management of disasters. Now, from the above definitions, we can figure out the idea of disaster management and can be illustration in the given figure. Now, disaster management will involve general function. It will also have specific functions, and it will also involve agencies, both government and non-government. So, disaster management thus includes a whole gamut of activities covering pre and post-disaster phases. It involves developing plans and organizing for and executing these plans by coordinating with a number of agencies. As a result, disaster management is viewed as a cyclic, continuous, and integrated process of planning, organizing, coordinating, and implementing and evaluating actions which are required for preventing, mitigations, capacity building, preparedness, immediate response, as well as undertaking evacuation and rescue relief. And also, in addition to that, ensuring rehabilitation of affected community and reconstruction for them. Now, it is considered, disaster management is considered as a cyclic process because the processes and the actions that are involved in the management of the disaster is continuous and is integrated, where one process and actions needs to be followed by another. That's why all the management phases of disaster are called cyclic. In the national policy and disaster management, it is considered that disaster management continuum comprises 6 elements. The pre-disaster phase includes prevention, mitigation, and preparedness. The post-disaster phase includes response, rehabilitations, and reconstruction, which can also be called recovery. But in many discussions and literature on disaster management, the cycle is considered to consist of only 4 stages, broad 4 stages, as shown in the figure. Now, all these phases of disaster management needs to be followed by one another. That's why they are called a cyclic continuum process or phases. These 4 phases are not distinct compartments. They are not separate from one another. It is generally seen that these stages overlap and 2 or more stages may be operational at the same time. Sometimes these are called the 4 R's of disaster management: reduction, readiness, response, and recovery. Now, each of these phases can be further analyzed and segregated into specific actions, as shown in the figure showing the detailing of disaster management phases. So the phase of mitigation will involve hazard mapping, vulnerability analysis, mitigation measures, development control, and economic diversification. Similarly, for preparedness phase, the processes involved will be disaster management plans, early warning systems, evacuation strategies, and etc. Same goes with the response and the recovery phases. Now, we shall be discussing in our next class each of these phases separately and more in detail. That is all for today's class. If you have any queries, please do forward your questions. Thank you.